Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining today's reading. Today we will be reading On the Way to Krishna. Before we start the reading, we wanted to thank BBT, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust International, for making all Śrīla Prabhupāda's books available in the book form. And we also want to thank all the devotees who are managing this database, who made it available for us to read on the internet. And before reading, again, we'll offer our prayers, and then we can start the reading. So the prayers continue from here. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayan Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitamsya. Namavom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Yevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Branda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today's reading is On the Way to Krishna. On the Way to Krishna was prepared from the transcripts of lectures Śrīla Prabhupada gave in New York in the fall of 1966 on the Bhagavad-gītā. The editor was Śrīla Prabhupāda's disciple, Hayagrīva Dāsa, Howard Wheeler, M.A. So the first chapter, Through Way to Happiness. Every one of us is searching after happiness, but we do not know what real happiness is. We see so much advertised about happiness, but practically speaking, we see so few happy people. This is because so few people know that the platform of real happiness is beyond temporary things. It is this real happiness that is described in the Bhagavad-gītā by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. Happiness is generally perceived through our senses. A stone, for instance, has no senses and cannot perceive happiness and distress. Developed consciousness can perceive happiness and distress more intensely than undeveloped consciousness. Trees have consciousness, but it is not developed. Trees may stand for a long time in all kinds of weather, but they have no way of perceiving miseries. If a human being were asked to stand like a tree for only 3 days or even less, he would not be able to tolerate it. The conclusion is that every living being feels happiness or distress according to the degree of development of his consciousness. The happiness that we are experiencing in the material world is not real happiness. If one asks a tree, "Are you feeling happy?" the tree, if it could, might say, "Yes, I am happy standing here all year. I'm enjoying the wind and snowfall very much," etc. This may be enjoyed by the tree, but for the human being, it is very low standard of enjoyment. There are different kinds of grades of living entities, and their conceptions and perceptions of happiness are also of all different types and grades. Although one animal may see that another animal is being slaughtered, he will go right on chewing grass, or he has no knowledge to understand that he may be next. He is thinking that he is happy, but at the next moment, he may be slaughtered. In this way, there are degrees of happiness. There are different degrees of happiness. Yet, of all of them, what is the highest happiness? Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, Sukham achantikam yattat buddhigrahyam atindriyam veti yatra na chayvayam sthitas chalati tattvataha. In that joy state, samadhi, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. Gita 6.21. Buddhi means intelligence. One has to be intelligent if he wants to enjoy. Animals do not have really developed intelligence and so cannot enjoy life as a human being can. The hands, the nose, the eyes, the other sense organs, and all the bodily parts may be present on a dead man, but he cannot enjoy. Why not? The enjoying energy, the spiritual spark, has left, and therefore the body has no power. If one looks further into the matter with a little intelligence, he can understand that it was not the body that was enjoying at all, but the small spiritual spark that was within. Although one may think that he is enjoying by the bodily sense organs, the real enjoyer is that spiritual spark. That spark always has the potency of enjoyment, but it is not always manifest due to being covered by the material tabernacle. Although we may not be aware of it, it is not possible for the body to experience enjoyment without the presence of the spiritual spark. If a man is offered the dead body of a beautiful woman, will he accept it? No, because the spiritual spark has moved out of the body. Not only was it enjoying within the body, but it was maintaining the body. When that spark leaves, the body simply deteriorates. It follows that if the spirit is enjoying, it must have its senses also. Otherwise, how can it enjoy? The Vedas confirm that the spirit soul, although atomic in size, is the actual enjoying agent. It is not possible to measure the soul, but that is not to say that it is without measurement. An object may seem to us to be no bigger than a point and may seem to have no length or width. But when we perceive it under a microscope, we can see that it has both length and width. Similarly, the soul also has its dimensions, but we cannot perceive them. When we buy a suit or dress, it is made to fit the body. The spiritual spark must have form. Otherwise, how is it the material body has grown to accommodate it? The conclusion is that the spiritual spark is not impersonal. It is an actual person. God is an actual person, and the spiritual spark, being a fragmental part of him, is also a person. If the Father has personality and individuality, the Son also has them. And if the Son has them, we can conclude that the Father has them. So how can we, as sons of God, assert our personality and individuality and at the same time deny them to our Father, the Supreme Lord? Atindriyam means that we have to transcend these material senses before we can appreciate real happiness. Ramante yoginonante hacyananda chidatmani. The yogis who are aspiring after spiritual life are also tasting enjoyment by focusing on the super soul within. If there is no pleasure, if there is no enjoyment, then what is the point of going to so much trouble to control the senses? What kind of pleasure are the yogis relishing if they are taking so much trouble? That pleasure is ananta, endless. How is this? The spirit soul is eternal, and the Supreme Lord is eternal. Therefore, reciprocation of their loving exchanges is eternal. One who is actually intelligent will refrain from the flickering sense enjoyment of this material body and fix his enjoyment in spiritual life. His participation in spiritual life with the Supreme Lord is called Rasa Leela. We have often heard of Krishna's Rasa Leela with the cowherd girls in Vrindavana. That is not like ordinary exchanges that take place between these material bodies. Rather, it is an exchange of feelings through spiritual bodies. One has to be somewhat intelligent to understand this. For a foolish man who cannot understand what real happiness is, seeks happiness in this material world. In India, there is the story of a man who did not know what sugarcane was and was told that it was very sweet to chew. Oh, what does it look like? He asked. It looks just like a bamboo rod, someone said. So the foolish man began to chew all kinds of bamboo rods. How can he begin to experience the sweetness of sugarcane? Similarly, we are trying to get happiness and pleasure, but we are trying for them by chewing this material body. Therefore, there is no happiness and pleasure. For the time being, there may be some little feeling of pleasure, but that is not actual pleasure, or it is temporary. It is like a show of lightning, which may see flashing in the sky that may momentarily seem like lightning, but the real lightning is beyond that, because a person does not really know what happiness is. He deviates from real happiness. The process for establishing oneself in real happiness is this process of Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness, we can gradually develop our real intelligence and naturally enjoy relishing spiritual happiness as we make spiritual progress. As we begin to relish spiritual happiness, we proportionately abandon material happiness. As we make progress in understanding the absolute truth, we naturally become detached from this false happiness. If somehow or other one is promoted to that stage of Krishna consciousness, what is the result? Yam labdha chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. Gita 6.22. When one attains that stage, other achievements appear insignificant. In this material world, we are trying to achieve so many things: riches, women, fame, beauty, knowledge, etc. But as soon as we are situated in Krishna consciousness, we think, oh, no achievement is better than this. Krishna consciousness is so potent that a little taste can save one from the greatest danger. As one begins to relish the taste of Krishna consciousness, he begins to see other so-called enjoyments and attainments as flat and tasteless. And if one is situated firmly in Krishna consciousness, the greatest danger cannot disturb him. There are so many dangers in life because the material world is a place of danger. We tend to close our eyes to this, and because we are foolish, we try to adjust to these dangers. We may have many dangerous moments in our lives, but if we are training ourselves in Krishna consciousness and preparing ourselves to go home back to Godhead, we will not care for them. Our attitude will then be, dangers come and go, and so let them happen. It's very difficult to make this kind of adjustment as long as one is on the materialistic platform and is identifying with the gross body, which is composed of perishable elements. But the more one advances in Krishna consciousness, the more he becomes free from bodily designations and this material entanglement. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the material world is compared to a great ocean. Within this material universe, there are millions and billions of planets floating in space. And we can just imagine how many Atlantic and Pacific oceans are there. In fact, the whole material universe is likened to a great ocean of misery, an ocean of birth and death. In order to cross this great ocean of nescience, a strong boat is needed. And that strong boat is the lotus feet of Krishna. We should immediately get aboard and board that boat. We should not hesitate, thinking that Krishna's feet are very small. The whole universe is simply resting on his leg. For one who takes shelter of his feet, it is said The material universe is no more significant than a puddle of water found in the impression of a calf's footprint. There is certainly no difficulty in crossing over such a small puddle. Tam vijjat dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samnitam. This indeed is the actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Gita 6.23. We are entangled in this material world due to uncontrolled senses. The yoga process is meant to control these senses. If somehow we can manage to control the senses, we can turn our face to actual spiritual happiness and make our lives successful. Sanishchayene yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamams tyaktva sarvan aseshataha manasaivedriya gramam vinimaya samantataha shanai shanai uparamed buddhya dhruti gruhitaya atma samstham manah krutva nakinchidapi chintayet yato yato nischalati manaschanchalam asthiram tatastato niyamyaitat atmanyeva vasham nayet. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with undeviating determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides of the mind. Gradually, step by step, with full conviction, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. From whatever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Gita 6.24 to 6.26. The mind is always disturbed. It is going sometimes this way and sometimes that way. By yoga practice, we literally drag the mind to Krishna consciousness. The mind strays from Krishna consciousness to so many exterior objects because from time immemorial, life after life, that has been our practice. Due to this, there may be great difficulty in the beginning when one tries to fix his mind in Krishna consciousness, but these difficulties can all be overcome. It is because the mind is agitated and not fixed on Krishna that it goes from one thought to another. For instance, when we are engaged in work, memories of events that happened 10, 20, 30, or 40 years ago may suddenly come to our mind for no apparent reason. These thoughts come from our subconscious, and because they are always rising, the mind is always agitated. If we agitate a lake or a pond, all the mud from the bottom comes to the surface. Similarly, when the mind is agitated, so many thoughts arise from the subconscious that have been stored there over the years. If we do not disturb a pond, the mud will settle to the bottom. This yoga process is the means to quiet the mind and allow all these thoughts to settle. For this reason, there are so many rules and regulations to follow in order to keep the mind from becoming agitated. If we follow the rules and regulations, gradually the mind will come under control. There are so many don'ts and so many do's. And if one is serious about training the mind, he has to follow them. If he acts whimsically, what is the possibility of the mind being controlled? When the mind is finally trained to the point where it will think of nothing but Krishna, it will attain peace and will become very tranquil. Prashanta manasam hyenam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shanta rajasam brahmabhutam akalmasham. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all the reactions to past deeds. Gita 6.27. The mind is always concocting objects for happiness. I'm always thinking, this will make me happy, or that will make me happy. Happiness is here, happiness is there. In this way, the mind is taking us anywhere and everywhere. It is as though we are riding on a chariot behind an unbridled horse. We have no power over where we are going, but can only sit in horror and watch helplessly. As soon as the mind is engaged in the process of Krishna consciousness, specifically by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then the wild horses of the mind will gradually come under our control. We must engage in Krishna's service every moment of our lives in order to keep the restless and turbulent mind from dragging us from one object to another in a vain search for happiness in the temporary material world. Yunjanyevam sadatmanam yogi vegata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham acyantam sukhamushnute. Thus the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. Gita 6.28. Krishna serves as a patron for one who is devoted to him. When one is in difficulty, his patron saves him. As stated in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna is the real friend of every living entity, and we have to revive our friendship with him. The method for reviving this friendship is the process of Krishna consciousness. By practice of Krishna consciousness, mundane passionate hankering will come to a stop. This passionate hankering keeps us diverse from Krishna. Krishna is within us and is waiting for us to turn to him. But we are too busy passionately eating the fruits of the tree of material desire. This passionate compulsion to enjoy these fruits must stop, and we must situate ourselves in our real identity as Brahman, pure spirit. Chapter 2. The way of chanting and knowing Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is transcendental sound vibration. It will help us to cleanse the dust from the mirror of the mind. At the present moment, we have accumulated so much material dust on the mirror of the mind, just as on 2nd Avenue, New York City, there is dust and soot over everything due to the heavy traffic. Due to our manipulation of material activities, a great deal of dust has collected over our mind's clear mirror. And as a consequence, we are unable to see things in perspective. This vibration of transcendental sound, the Hare Krishna mantra, will cleanse away this dust and enable us to see clearly our real constitutional position. As soon as we come to understand I am not this body, I am spirit soul, and my symptom is consciousness, we will be able to establish ourselves in real happiness. As our consciousness is purified by this process of chanting Hare Krishna, all our material miseries will disappear. There is a fire that is always blazing over this material world, and everyone is trying to extinguish it. But there is no possibility of extinguishing this fire of the miseries of material nature unless we are situated in our pure consciousness in our spiritual life. One of the purposes for Lord Krishna's descent and appearance in this material world is to extinguish the fire of material existence for all living entities by setting forth the dharma. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir-bhavati bharata abhyudhanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarathaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of religion, at that time I descend myself to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. Gita 4.7 and 8. In this word, the word dharma is used. This word has been translated into English in various ways. Sometimes it is translated as faith, but according to Vedic literature, dharma is not a kind of faith. Faith may change, but dharma cannot be changed. The liquidity of water cannot be changed. If it is changed, if for instance the water becomes solid, it is actually no longer in its constitutional position. It is existing under a certain qualifying condition. Our dharma or constitutional position is that we are part and parcel of the Supreme. And this being the case, we have to dovetail or subjugate our consciousness to the Supreme. This position of transcendental service to the Supreme Whole is being misused due to material contact. Service is implicit in our constitutional position. Everyone is a servant, and no one is a master. Everyone is serving someone or other. Although the president may be the chief executive of the state, still he is serving the state. And when his services are no longer required, the state disposes of him. To think to oneself, I am the master of all I survey, is called Maya, illusion. Thus, in material consciousness, our service is being misused under various designations. When we can become free from these designations, that is to say, when the dust has been cleared from the mirror of the mind, we will be able to see ourselves in our actual position as eternal servants of Krishna. One should not think that his service in the material world and his service in the spiritual atmosphere are the same. We may shudder to think, oh, after liberation, will I still be a servant? This is because we have experienced that being a servant in the material world is not very enjoyable. But transcendental service is not like this. In the spiritual world, there is no difference between the servant and the master. Here, of course, there is distinction. But in the absolute world, everything is one. For instance, in the Bhagavad-gītā, we can see that Krishna has taken the position of servant as the chariot driver of Arjuna. In his constitutional position, Arjuna is the servant of Krishna. But in behavior, we can see that sometimes the Lord becomes the servant of the servant. So we should be careful not to carry materialistic ideas into the spiritual realm. Whatever we have materially experienced is but a perverted reflection of things in spiritual life. When our constitutional position or dharma is deteriorated due to the contaminations of matter, the Lord himself comes as an incarnation or sends some of his confidential servitors. Lord Jesus Christ called himself the Son of God, and so is a representative of the Supreme. Similarly, Muhammad identified himself as a servant of the Supreme Lord. Thus, whenever there is a discrepancy in our constitutional position, the Supreme Lord either comes himself or sends his representative to inform us of the real position of the living entity. Therefore, one should not make the mistake of thinking that dharma is a created faith. In its proper sense, dharma cannot be divorced from the living entity at all. It is to the living entity what sweetness is to sugar, or saltiness is to salt, or solidity is to stone. In no case can it be cut off. The dharma of the living entity is to serve, and we can easily see that every living entity has the tendency to serve himself or others. How to serve Krishna, how to disentangle ourselves from materialistic service, how to attain Krishna consciousness and become free from material designations is all taught as a science by Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad-gītā. The word sadhu in the verse quoted above, beginning paritranaya sadhunam, refers to a holy man or a saintly person. A saintly person is tolerant, very kind to everyone. He is a friend to all living entities, he is no one's enemy, and is always peaceful. There are 26 basic qualifications for a holy man. And in the Bhagavad-gītā, we find that Sri Krishna himself gives the following verdict. Abhichesu durācāro bhajate mam ananya bhag sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisa. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Gita 9.30. On the mundane platform, what is morality for one person is immorality for another. And what is immorality for one person is morality for another. According to the Hindu conception, the drinking of wine is immoral, whereas in the Western world, wine drinking is not considered immoral, but is a common thing. So morality is dependent on time, place, circumstance, social position, etc. There is, however, a sense of morality and immorality in all societies. In this verse, Krishna points out that even if one is engaged in immoral acts, but at the same time is fully in Krishna consciousness, he is to be considered a sadhu or a saint. In other words, although a person may have some immoral habits due to his past association, if he is engaged fully in Krishna consciousness, these habits are not to be considered important. Whatever the case, if one becomes Krishna conscious, he will gradually be purified and will become a sadhu. As one progresses in executing Krishna consciousness, his bad habits diminish and he attains to saintly perfection. In this regard, there is the story of a thief who went on a pilgrimage to a holy town. And en route, he and the other pilgrims stopped to rest overnight at an inn. Being addicted to stealing, the thief began making plans to steal the other pilgrims' baggage. But he thought, I am going on a pilgrimage, so it does not seem appropriate that I should steal this baggage. No, I shall not do it. Nonetheless, due to his habit, he could not keep his hands off with the baggage. So he picked up one person's bag and placed it in another place, and then another person's bag and placed it elsewhere. He spent all night placing different bags in different places. But his conscience bothered him, so that he could not take anything from them. In the morning, when the other pilgrims awoke, they looked around for their bags and could not find them. There was a great row, and eventually, one by one, they began to find the bags in various places. After they were all found, the thief explained, Gentlemen, I am a thief by occupation. Being that I am habituated to stealing at night. I wanted to steal something from your bags, but I thought that since I am going to this holy place, it is not possible to steal. So I may have rearranged the baggage, but please excuse me. This is the characteristic of a bad habit. He does not want to commit theft anymore, but because he is habituated, sometimes he does. Thus, Krishna says that one who has decided to refrain from his immoral habits and make progress in Krishna consciousness is to be considered a sadhu, even if out of past habit or by chance he yields to his fault. In the next verse, we find that Sri Krishna says, Shipram bhavati dharmatma sasvasa chantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace, O son of Kunti. Declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Gita 9.31. Because one has committed himself to Krishna consciousness, it is proclaimed here by Sri Krishna that within a very short time he will become saintly. One may pull the plug out of an electric fan and the fan may still go on even though the juice has been disconnected, but it is understood that the fan will soon come to a stop. Once we take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, we turn the switch off for our karmic activities. And although these activities may still revolve, it is to be understood that they will quickly diminish. It is a fact that whoever takes to Krishna consciousness does not have to endeavor independently to become a good man. All the good qualifications will automatically come. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that one who has attained Krishna consciousness has simultaneously attained all good qualities. On the other hand, if a person is devoid of God consciousness and yet has many good qualities, his good qualities are to be considered useless, for he will not in any way be prohibited from doing that which is undesirable. If one is devoid of Krishna consciousness, he is sure to commit mischief in this material world. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma neti ma veti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, takes his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Gita 4.9. The mission for which Krishna appears is here further explained. When he comes with some mission, there are some activities. Of course, there are some philosophers who do not believe that God comes as an incarnation. They say, why should God come to this rotten world? But from the Bhagavad-gītā, we understand otherwise. We should always remember that we read the Bhagavad-gītā as scripture, and whatever is spoken in the Bhagavad-gītā must be accepted. Otherwise, there is no reason in reading it. In the Gita, Krishna says that he has come in as an incarnation with a mission. And along with his mission, there are some activities. We can see, for example, that Krishna is active as chariot driver for Arjuna and engages in so many activities on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Just as when there is a war, one person or nation may side with another person or nation and show partiality, Lord Krishna on the battlefield shows some partiality and sides with Arjuna. Actually, Krishna is not partial to anyone, but externally it appears that he is partial. This partiality, however, should not be accepted in the ordinary sense. In this verse, Krishna also points out that his descent into the material world is transcendental. The word divyam means transcendental. His activities are not in any way ordinary. Even today in India, at the end of August, the people are accustomed to celebrating Krishna's birthday, regardless of sect, just as in the Western world, Jesus Christ's birthday is celebrated as Christmas. Krishna's birthday is called Janmashtami. And in this verse, Krishna uses the word Janma in referring to my birth. Because there is birth, there are some activities. Krishna's birth and activities are transcendental, which means they are not like ordinary births and activities. One may ask how it is that his activities are transcendental. He is born, he takes part in a battle with Arjuna, he has a father by the name of Vasudeva and a mother Devaki, and a family. What can be considered transcendental? Krishna says, Yavam yavo veti tattvataha. We must know of his birth and activities in truth. When one knows of Krishna's birth and activities in truth, the result is Tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjun. When he leaves this material body, he is not born again, but goes directly to Krishna. This means that he becomes a liberated soul. He goes to the eternal spiritual world and attains his constitutional position full of bliss, knowledge, and eternality. All this can be obtained simply by knowing in truth the transcendental nature of Krishna's birth and activities. Ordinarily, when one quits the body, he has to take up another body. The lives of the living entities are going on simply due to the living entities changing dress from one body to another. Transmigration of the soul, according to the work of the living entities. At the present moment, we may think that this material body is our actual body, but it is like a dress. In reality, we do have an actual body, a spiritual body. This material body is superficial compared to the real spiritual body of the living entity. When this material body becomes old and worn out, or when it is rendered useless by some accident, we put it aside, as we might put aside a soiled or ruined suit and take up another material body. Vasamsi jirnani yadha vihaya, namani gruhnati naroparani, tadha sarirani vihaya jirnani, anyani samyati navani dehi. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Gita 2.22. In the beginning, the body is the size of a pea. Then it grows to become a baby. Then a child, a young boy, a youth, a grown man, and an old man. And finally, when it becomes useless, the living entity changes into another body. The body is therefore always changing, and death is simply the ultimate change of the present body. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tadha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Gita 2.13. Although the body is changing, the dweller within the body remains the same. Although the boy grows into manhood, the living entity within the body is not changed. It is not that the self who was there as a boy has gone away. Medical science agrees that at every moment the material body is changing. Just as the living entities are not bewildered by this, an enlightened man is not bewildered when the body undergoes its ultimate change at death. But a person who does not understand things as they are laments. In the material condition, we are simply changing bodies all the time. That is our disease. It is not that we always change to a human body. We may change to an animal body or a demigod body depending on our activities. According to the Padma Purana, there are 8,400,000 species of life. We can take on any of them at death. But Krishna promises that one who knows his birth and activities in truth is freed from this cycle of transmigration. How does one understand Krishna's birth and activities in truth? This is explained in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yasyasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gnatva vishate tadanantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Bhagavad-gītā 18.55. Here again, the word tattvataha in truth is used. One can understand the science of Krishna in truth by becoming a devotee. He who is not a devotee, who does not strive for Krishna consciousness, cannot understand. At the beginning of the 4th chapter also, Krishna tells Arjuna, Gita 4.3, that he is explaining this ancient science of yoga to him because Arjuna is my devotee and my friend. For one who simply makes an academic study of the Bhagavad-gītā, the science of Krishna remains a mystery. The Bhagavad-gītā is not a book that one can just purchase from the bookstore and understand by scholarship alone. Arjuna was not a great scholar, nor a Vedantist, nor a philosopher, nor a Brahmana, nor a renunciant. He was a family and military man. But still, Krishna selected him to be the recipient of the Bhagavad-gītā and the first authority in the disciplic succession. Why? Because you are my devotee. That is the qualification to understand the Bhagavad-gītā as it is and Krishna as he is. One must become Krishna conscious. And what is this Krishna consciousness? That is the process of cleansing the dust from the mirror of the mind through the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting this mantra and by hearing the Bhagavad-gītā, we can gradually attain to Krishna consciousness. Isvara Sarvabhutanam. Krishna is always present within our heart. The individual soul and the super soul are both sitting in the tree of the body. The individual soul, Jiva, is eating the fruit of the tree. And the super soul, Paramatma, is witnessing. As the individual soul begins the process of devotional service and gradually begins to develop his Krishna consciousness, the super soul who is seated within begins to help him dust all the impurities from the mirror of the mind. Krishna is a friend to all saintly persons, and the attempt to become Krishna conscious is a saintly endeavor. Sravanam Kirtanam. By chanting and hearing, one can come to understand the science of Krishna and thereby come to understand Krishna. And upon understanding Krishna, one can, at the moment of death, go immediately to his abode in the spiritual world. This spiritual world is described thus in the Bhagavad-gītā. Na tat bhasayate suryo, na shashanko na pavakaha, yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. That supreme abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Gita 15.6. This material world is always dark. Therefore, we require the sun, moon, and electricity. The Vedas enjoin us not to remain in this darkness, but to transfer ourselves to the world of illumination, the spiritual world. The word darkness has a twofold meaning. It not only means without light, but it means ignorance. The Supreme Lord has manifold energies. It is not that he comes into this material world to perform activities. It is stated in the Vedas that the Supreme Lord has nothing to do. In the Bhagavad-gītā, Sri Krishna also says, Name pardhasti kartavyam trishlokeshu kinchina nanavaptam abaptavyam vartayevacha karmani. O son of Purusha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems. Nor am I in want of anything, nor have I need to obtain anything. And yet, I am engaged in prescribed duties. Gita 3.22. We should therefore not think that Krishna is required to descend upon this material world and engage in so many activities. No one is equal to or greater than Krishna, and he has all knowledge naturally. It is not that he has to undergo penances to acquire knowledge, or that he at any time has to receive knowledge or attain knowledge. At all times in all conditions, he is full of knowledge. He may be speaking the Bhagavad-gītā to Arjuna, but at no time was he ever taught the Bhagavad-gītā. One who can understand that this is Krishna's position does not have to return to the cycle of birth and death in this material world. Being under the influence of illusion, we spend our lifetimes trying to make adjustment to this material atmosphere. But this is not the purpose of human life. Human life is meant for understanding the science of Krishna. Our material needs are these: the problem of eating, of mating, of sleeping, of defending ourselves, and of acquiring sense gratification. These are common both to human beings and to animals. The animals are busily engaged trying to solve these problems. And if we are also only engaged in solving them, how are we any different from the animals? The human being, however, has a special qualification whereby he can develop transcendental Krishna consciousness. But if he does not avail himself of this, he is in the animal category. The defect of modern civilization is that it puts too much stress on solving these survival problems. As spiritual living beings, it is incumbent upon us to extricate ourselves from this entanglement of birth and death. We should therefore be careful not to miss the special opportunity of human life. Sri Krishna himself comes to deliver the Bhagavad-gītā and to help us to become God conscious. Indeed, this very material creation is given to us to utilize for this cultivation. But if after receiving this chance and this gift of human life, we do not utilize them to develop Krishna consciousness, we shall be missing this rare opportunity. The process for cultivation is very simple: Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. We have nothing to do other than listen, and by listening carefully, enlightenment is sure to come. Krishna will surely help, for he is seated within. We only have to make the effort and spare a little time. We will not need anyone to ask us whether we are making progress. We will know it automatically, just as a hungry man knows that he has been satisfied by a full meal. Actually, this process of Krishna consciousness or self-realization is not very difficult. Krishna taught it to Arjuna in the Bhagavad-gītā. And if we understand the Bhagavad-gītā just as Arjuna did, we will have no problem in coming to the perfectional state. But if we try to interpret the Bhagavad-gītā according to our own mundane academic mentality, we spoil it all. As stated before, this chanting of Hare Krishna is a process by which all contaminations due to material association are removed from the mirror of the mind. There is no need for external help in reviving our Krishna consciousness, for Krishna consciousness is dormant within the self. In fact, it is the very quality of the self. We have only to invoke it by this process. Krishna consciousness is an eternal fact. It is not a doctrine or a set of beliefs imposed by some organization. It is within all living entities, whether they be human being or animal. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing through the jungles of South India some 500 years ago, he chanted Hare Krishna, and all the animals, the tigers, elephants, and deer, joined him in dancing to the holy names. Of course, this depends on the purity of the chanting. As we progress in chanting, purification is sure to come. Chapter 3, Seeing Krishna Everywhere and Always. In our practical life, Krishna instructs us how to invoke Krishna consciousness. It is not that we are to stop executing our duty or to cease from activity. Rather, activities have to be conducted in Krishna consciousness. Everyone has a vocation in life, but with what consciousness does he enter upon it? Everyone is thinking, oh, I must have a vocation in order to maintain my family. Society, the government, or the family have to be satisfied, and no one is free from such consciousness. One has to be in proper consciousness to execute any activity nicely. He whose consciousness is agitated, who is like a madman, cannot execute any duty. We should execute our duty properly, but we should do it thinking to satisfy Krishna. It is not that we have to change our process of work, but we do have to understand for whom we are working. Whatever activity we have to do, we must execute, but we should not be carried away by kama, desire. The Sanskrit word kama is used to indicate lust, desire, or sense satisfaction. Sri Krishna instructs that we should not work for the satisfaction of kama or our own lust. The whole teaching of the Bhagavad-gītā is based on this principle. Arjuna wanted to satisfy his senses by refraining from fighting with his relatives. But Krishna spoke to him to convince him to execute his duty for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Materially, it may seem very pious that he is giving up his claim for a kingdom and refusing to kill his relatives. But Krishna did not approve of this, because the principle for Arjuna's decision was to satisfy his own senses. One's business or occupation need not be changed, as Arjuna's was not changed. But one does have to change his consciousness. In order to change this consciousness, however, knowledge is required. That knowledge is knowing I am part and parcel of Krishna, the superior energy of Krishna. That is real knowledge. Relative knowledge may teach us how to repair a machine, but real knowledge is knowing our position as being integral with Krishna. Being part of Him, our pleasure, which is partial, is dependent on the whole. For instance, my hand can take pleasure when it is attached to my body and serves it. It does not take pleasure in serving another's body. Because we are part of Krishna, our pleasure is in serving Him. I cannot be happy in serving you. Everyone is thinking. I can only be happy serving myself. But no one knows who the self is. That self is Krishna. Mamaivaamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manashasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Gita 15.7. The jivas or living entities are now detached from the whole due to material contact. It is therefore necessary for us to strive to attach ourselves again through the latent Krishna consciousness that is within us. Artificially, we are trying to forget Krishna and live independently, but this is not possible. When we strive to live independent of Krishna, we come under the influence of the laws of material nature. If one thinks he is independent of Krishna, he becomes dependent on the illusory energy of Krishna. Just as if one thinks that he is independent of the government and its regulations, he becomes dependent on the police force. Everyone is trying to become independent, and this is called Maya, illusion. Individually, communally, socially, nationally, or universally, it is not possible to become independent. When we come to realize that we are dependent, we will have attained knowledge. Today, so many people are striving for peace in the world, but they do not know how to implement that peace formula. The United Nations has been striving for peace for so many years, but still, war is going on. Yachapi sarva bhutanam bijam tadaham arjuna natad asti vinayat syam maya bhutam characharam. Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being, moving or non-moving, that can exist without me. Gita 10.39. Krishna is thus the proprietor of everything, the ultimate beneficiary and the receiver of the results of everything. We may consider ourselves to be the proprietors of the fruits of our labor, but this is a misconception. We must come to understand that Krishna is the ultimate proprietor of the fruits of all our works. Hundreds of people may be working in an office, but they understand that whatever profit the business makes belongs to the proprietor. As soon as a teller at the bank thinks, oh, I have so much money, I am the proprietor, let me take it home with me, his trouble begins. If we think that we can use whatever wealth we have amassed for our own sense gratification, we are acting out of kama, lust. But if we come to understand that everything we have belongs to Krishna, we are liberated. We may have the same money in our hands, but as soon as we think that we are the proprietor, we are under the influence of Maya. One who is situated in this consciousness that everything belongs to Krishna is an actual learned man. Ishavashyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena chaktena bhunjita magrutha kasyas vidhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota. And one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. This consciousness of Ishavasya, everything belongs to Krishna, must be revived, not only individually, but nationally and universally. Then there will be peace. We often tend to be philanthropic and altruistic, and we try to be friends with our countrymen, with our families, and with all the peoples of the world. But this is based on a wrong conception. The real friend is Krishna. And if we want to benefit our family, nation, or planet, we will work for him. If we have our family's welfare in mind, we will try to make all members Krishna conscious. There are so many men trying to benefit their families, but unfortunately, they do not succeed. They do not know what the real problem is. As the Bhagavatam says, one should not attempt to become a father, mother, or teacher unless he is able to save his children from death, from the grip of material nature. The father should be in knowledge of Krishna, and he should be determined that the innocent children who are entrusted to him will not have to undergo the cycle of birth and death again. He should be resolved to train his children in such a way that they will no longer have to be subjected to the painful cycle of birth and death. But before one can do this, he has to make himself expert. If he becomes expert in Krishna consciousness, he can help not only his children, but his society and nation. But if he himself is bound by ignorance, how can he untie others who are similarly bound? Before one can make others free, he must be free himself. Actually, no one is a free man, for everyone is under the spell of material nature. But one who is surrendered to Krishna cannot be touched by Maya. He of all men is free. If one places himself in sunlight, there is no question of darkness. But if one places himself in artificial light, it may flicker and go out. Krishna is just like sunlight. Where he is present, there is no question of darkness and ignorance. The wise men, the Mahatmas, understand this. Aham sarvasya prabho mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samannitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Gita 10.8. In this verse, the word Buddha is used, which indicates a wise man or one who is learned. What is his symptom? He knows that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, of all emanations. He knows that whenever he sees, he knows that whatever he sees is but an emanation of Krishna. In the material world, sex life is the most prominent factor. Sexual attraction is found in all species of life, and one may ask where it comes from. The wise man understands that this tendency is in Krishna and that it is revealed in his relationship with the damsels of Vraja. Whatever is found in this material world can also be found in perfection in Krishna. The difference is that in the material world, everything is manifest in a perverted form. In Krishna, all of these tendencies and manifestations exist in pure consciousness, in spirit. One who knows this in full knowledge becomes a pure devotee of Krishna. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritah bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavratah namayantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. O son of Rudha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Gita 9.13 and 14. Who is the great soul, the Mahatma? It is he who is under the influence of the spirit superior energy. At present, we are under the influence of Krishna's inferior energy. As living entities, our position is marginal. We can transfer ourselves to either of the two energies. Krishna is fully independent, and because we are part and parcel of him, we also have this quality of independence. Therefore, we have a choice as to which energy we will function under. Because we are ignorant of the superior nature, we have no alternative but to remain in the inferior nature. Some philosophies propound that there is no nature other than the one we are presently experiencing, and that the only solution to this is to nullify it and become void. But we cannot be void because we are living entities. It does not mean that we are finished just because we change our bodies. Before we can get out from the influence of material nature, we have to understand where our place actually is, where we are to go. If we do not know where to go, then we will simply say, oh, we do not know what is superior and inferior. All we know is this. So let us stay here and rot. The Bhagavad-gītā, however, gives us information of the superior energy, the superior nature. What Krishna speaks, he speaks for all eternity. It does not change. It does not matter what our present occupation is or what Arjuna's occupation was. We only have to change our consciousness. At present, we are guided by the consciousness of self-interest. But we do not know what our real self-interest is. Actually, we do not have self-interest, but sense-interest. Whatever we are doing to satisfy the senses. It is this consciousness that has to be changed. And in its place, we must implant our real self-interest, Krishna consciousness. How is this done? How is it possible to become Krishna conscious in every step of our life? Actually, Krishna makes it very easy for us. Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi sesishuryayoho pranavah sarvavedeshu shabdakhe purusham nushu. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Gita 7.8. In this verse, Sri Krishna is describing how we can become fully Krishna conscious in all stages of life. All living entities must drink water. The taste of water is so nice that when we are thirsty, nothing but water seems to do. No manufacturer can create the pure taste of water. We can thus remember Krishna or God when we drink water. No one can avoid drinking water every day of his life. So God consciousness is there. How can we forget? Similarly, when there is some illumination, that is also Krishna. The original effulgence in the spiritual sky, the Brahma Jyoti, emanates from the body of Krishna. This material sky is covered. The very nature of the material universe is darkness, which we experience at night. It is being artificially illuminated by the sun, by the reflected light of the moon, and by electricity. Where is this illumination coming from? The sun is being illumined by the Brahma Jyoti, or the bright effulgence of the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is no need for sun, moon, or electricity, because there everything is illuminated by the Brahma Jyoti. On this earth, however, we can remember Krishna whenever we see some illumination from the sun. When we chant the Vedic mantras, which begin with Om, we can also remember Krishna. Om. Om, like Hare Krishna, is also an address to God. And Om is also Krishna. Shabda means sound. And whenever we hear any sound, we should know that it is the vibration of the original sound, the pure spiritual sound, Om or Hare Krishna. Whatever sound we hear in the material world is but a reflection of that original spiritual sound, Om. In this way, when we hear sound and when we drink water, when we see some illumination, we can remember God. If we can do this, then when will we not remember God? This is the process of Krishna consciousness. In this way, we can remember Krishna 24 hours a day, and in this way, Krishna is with us. Of course, Krishna is always with us, but as soon as we remember this, his presence is factual and is felt. There are 9 different processes for associating with God. And the first method of association is Shravanam, hearing. By reading the Bhagavad-gītā, we hear the speeches of Sri Krishna, which means that we are actually associating with Krishna or God. We should always remember that when we speak of Krishna, we refer to God. In as much as we associate with God and as we go on hearing the words of Krishna and his names, the contamination of material nature is reduced. In understanding that Krishna is sound, illumination, water, and so many other things, it becomes impossible to avoid Krishna. If we can remember Krishna in this way, our association with him is permanent. Association with Krishna is like association with sunshine. Where there is sunshine, there is no contamination. As long as one is out in the ultraviolet rays of the sun, he will not be diseased. In Western medicine, sunshine is recommended for all kinds of diseases. And according to the Vedas, a diseased man should worship the sun for cure. Similarly, if we associate with Krishna and Krishna consciousness, our maladies are cured. By chanting Hare Krishna, we can associate with Krishna. And we can see the water as Krishna, the sun and the moon as Krishna. And we can hear Krishna in sound and taste him in water. Unfortunately, in our present condition, we have forgotten Krishna. But now we have to revive our spiritual life by remembering him. This process of Sravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, was approved by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Chaitanya was speaking with Ramananda Rai, a friend of the Lord's and a great devotee, the Lord questioned him about the methods of spiritual realization. Ramananda recommended Varnashram Dharma, Sannyas, the renunciation of work, and so many other methods. But Lord Chaitanya said, no, all of these are not so good. Each time Ramananda Rai suggested something, Lord Chaitanya rejected it, requesting a better method for spiritual development. Finally, Ramananda Rai quoted a Vedic aphorism which recommended that one give up all unnecessary endeavor in mental speculation for understanding God, because by speculation it is not possible to arrive at the ultimate truth. Scientists, for instance, may speculate about distant stars and planets, but they can never come to any conclusions without experience. One may go on speculating throughout his life and never reach any conclusions. It is especially useless to speculate about God. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that all sorts of speculation should be given up. It is recommended instead that one becomes submissive, realizing that not only is he an insignificant creature, but that this earth is only one small point in the great universe. New York City may seem very large, but when one realizes that the earth is such a small spot, and that on the earth, the United States is just another small spot, and that in the United States, New York City is but a small spot, and that in New York, the individual is only one out of millions, then one can understand that he is not so very important after all. Realizing our insignificance in the face of the universe and God, we should not be artificially puffed up, but should be submissive. We should be very careful not to fall prey to the frog philosophy. Once there was a frog in a well, and upon being informed of the existence of the Atlantic Ocean by a friend, he asked the friend, "Oh, what is this Atlantic Ocean?" "It is a vast body of water," his friend replied. "Oh, how vast? Is it double the size of this well?" "Oh no, much, much larger," his friend replied. "How much larger? 10 times the size?" In this way, the frog went on calculating. But what is the possibility of his ever understanding the depths and far reaches of the great ocean? Our faculties, experience, and powers of speculation are always limited. We can only give rise to such frog philosophy. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that we give up the method of speculation as a waste of time in trying to understand the Supreme. After giving up speculation, what should we do? The Bhagavatam recommends that we become submissive and hear the message of God submissively. This message may be found also in the Bhagavad-gītā and other Vedic literatures, in the Bible or Quran, in any bona fide scripture, or it may be heard from a realized soul. The main point is that one should not speculate, but should simply hear about God. What will be the result of such hearing? Regardless of what one is, whether he be a poor or rich man, an American, European, or Indian, a Brahmana, Sudra, or whatever, if one but hears the transcendental word of God, the Lord, who can never be conquered by any power or force, will be conquered by love. Arjuna was a friend of Krishna's, but Krishna, although the Supreme Godhead, became Arjuna's chariot driver, a menial servant. Arjuna loved Krishna, and Krishna reciprocated his love in this way. Similarly, when Krishna was a child, he playfully took the shoes of his father Nanda Maharaj and put them on his head. People may try very hard to become one with God, but actually we can surpass that. We can become the Father of God. Of course, God is the Father of all creatures, and he has no father himself, but he accepts his devotee, his lover, as a father. Krishna agrees to be conquered by his devotee out of love. All one has to do is hear the message of the Lord very carefully. In the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, Sri Krishna gives additional ways in which he can be perceived in every step of life. Punyo gandha pradhivyam cha tejaschasmi vibhavasau jivanam sarvabhuteshu tapaschasmi tapasvishu. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in the fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the preeminence of all ascetics. Gita 7.9. The words Punyo Gandha refer to fragrances. Only Krishna can create flavors and fragrances. We may synthetically create some scents or fragrances, but these are not as good as the originals that occur in nature. When we smell a good natural fragrance, we can think, oh, here is God, here is Krishna. Or when we see some natural beauty, we can think, oh, here is Krishna. Or when we see something uncommon, powerful, or wonderful, we can think, here is Krishna. Or when we see any form of life, whether it be in a tree, in a plant, or an animal, or human being, we should understand that this life is part and parcel of Krishna. For as soon as the spiritual spark, which is part and parcel of Krishna, is taken away from the body disintegrates. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam vidhi partha sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejas vinamaham. O son of Purusha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligence and the prowess of all powerful men. Gita 7.10. Here again it is explicitly stated that Krishna is the life of all that lives. That at every step we can see God. People may ask, can you show me God? Yes, of course. God can be seen in so many ways. But if one closes his eyes and says, I shall not see God, then how can he be shown? In the above verse, the word bijam means seed, and that seed is proclaimed to be eternal, sanatana. One may see a huge tree, but what is the origin of this tree? It is the seed, and that seed is eternal. The seed of existence is within every living entity. The body itself may go through so many changes. It may develop within the mother's womb, come out as a small baby, and grow through childhood and adulthood. But the seed of that existence that is within is permanent. Therefore, it is sanatana. Imperceivably, we are changing our bodies at every moment, at every second. But the bijam, the seed, the spiritual spark, does not change. Krishna proclaims himself to be this eternal seed within all existences. He is also the intelligence of an intelligent person. Without being favored by Krishna, one cannot become extraordinarily intelligent. Everyone is trying to be more intelligent than others, but without the favor of Krishna, this is not possible. Therefore, whenever we encounter someone with extraordinary intelligence, we should think that intelligence is Krishna. Similarly, the influence of one who is very influential is also Krishna. Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. Gita 7.11. The elephant and the gorilla are very strong animals, and we should understand that they get their strength from Krishna. The human being cannot acquire such strength by his own endeavor. But if Krishna so favors, a man can get strength to exceed the elephant thousands of times. The great warrior Bhima, who fought in the battle of Kurukshetra, was said to have strength 10,000 times that of an elephant. Similarly, desire or lust, kama, that is not against religious principles, should also be seen as Krishna. What is this lust? Lust generally means sex life, but here kama refers to sex life, which is not against religious principles. That is to say, sex for the begetting of good children. If one can beget good Krishna conscious children, he can have sex thousands of times. But if we can only beget children who are raised in the consciousness of cats and dogs, his sex life is to be considered irreligious. In religious and civilized societies, marriage is intended as an indication that a couple is to engage in sex for begetting good children. Therefore, married sex life is considered religious, and unmarried sex life is considered irreligious. Actually, there is no difference between the sannyasi and the householder, provided that the householder's sexual activities are based on religious principles. Echeva satvika bhava tajasas tamasasya ye matta eveti tan vidhi natvaham teshu te mayi. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, or the contrary, are within me. Gita 7.12. One may question Krishna in this way. You say you are sound, water, illumination, fragrance, the seed of all, strength, and kama, desire. Does that mean that you exist simply in the mode of goodness? In the material world, there are the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Thus far, Krishna has described himself as that which is good. For instance, sex and marriage according to religious principles. But what about the other modes? Does Krishna not exist in them? In answer, Krishna replies that whatever is seen in the material world is due to an interaction of the three modes of material nature. Whatever can be observed is a combination of goodness, passion, or ignorance. And in all cases, these three states are produced by me. Because they are produced by Krishna, their position is in him. but he is not in them. For Krishna himself is transcendental to the three modes. Thus, in another sense, bad and evil things which are produced out of ignorance are also Krishna when they are applied by Krishna. How is this? For example, an electrical engineer is producing electrical energy. In our homes, we are experiencing this electrical energy as coldness in the refrigerator or heat in the electric stove. But at the power plant, electric energy is neither cold nor hot. The manifestations of this energy may be different for the living entities, but for Krishna, they are not different. Therefore, Krishna sometimes acts on what appears to be the principles of passion and ignorance, but for Krishna, there is nothing but Krishna. Just as for the electrical engineer, electrical energy is simply electricity and nothing else. He makes no distinction that this is cold electricity or that is hot electricity. Everything is being generated by Krishna. Indeed, the Vedanta Sutra confirms, Adhato Brahma Jignasa Janma Jasayataha. Everything is flowing from the Supreme Absolute Truth. What the living entity is considering to be bad or good is only for the living entity, for his condition. But because Krishna is not conditioned, for him, there is no question of bad or good. Because we are conditioned, we are suffering from dualities. But for him, everything is perfect. Chapter 4. The roads of the foolish and the wise. Krishna is thus explaining himself as he is. Yet, we are not attracted to him. Why is this? The reason is given by Krishna himself. Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durachaya Mame Vaye Prapajante Mayametam Tarantiti. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to work. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Gita 7.14. The material world is pervaded by the three qualities of material nature. All living entities are influenced by these qualities. If they are primarily influenced by the mode of goodness, they are called Brahmanas. And if they are influenced by the mode of passion, they are called Kshatriyas. If they are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, they are Vaishyas. And if they are influenced by ignorance, they are Sudras. This is not an artificial imposition due to birth or social status, but is according to guna, or the mode of nature under which one is operating. Chaturvanyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vijjakartaram avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. Gita 4.13. It is not that this system refers to the perverted caste system in India. Sri Krishna specifically states, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Men are classified according to the guna, or mode under which they are operating. And this applies to men all over the universe. When Krishna speaks, we must understand that whatever he says is not limited, but is universally true. He claims to be the father of all living entities, even the animals, aquatics, trees, plants, worms, birds, and bees are all claimed to be his sons. Sri Krishna asserts that the entire universe is illusion by the interactions of the three qualities of material nature, and we are under the spell of that illusion. Therefore, we cannot understand what God is. What is the nature of this illusion, and how can it be overcome? That is also explained in the Bhagavad-gītā. Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durachaya Mame Vaye Prapajante Mayametam Tarantiti. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered to me can easily cross beyond it. Gita 7.14. No one can get rid of the entanglement of the three qualities of material nature by mental speculation. The three gunas are very strong and hard to overcome. Can't we feel how we are in the grip of material nature? The word guna, mode, also means rope. When someone is bound by the three strong ropes, he is certainly very tightly secured. Our hands and legs are all bound by the strong ropes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Are we therefore to abandon hope? No. For here Sri Krishna promises that whoever surrenders unto him is at once free. When one becomes Krishna conscious, whether in this way or that way, he becomes free. We are all related to Krishna, for we are all his sons. As a son may have a disagreement with his father, but it is not possible for him to break that relation. In the course of his life, he will be asked who he is, and he will have to reply, I am the son of so and so. That relation cannot be broken. We are all sons of God, and that relationship with him is eternal. But we have simply forgotten. Krishna is all powerful, all famous, all wealthy, all beautiful, all knowledgeable, and he is full of renunciation as well. Although we are friends of such a great personality, we have forgotten it. If a rich man's son forgets his father, leaves home and becomes mad, he may lie on the street to go to sleep, or he may beg money for food. But all of this is due to his forgetfulness. If someone, however, gives him information that he is simply suffering because he has left his father's home, and that his father, a very wealthy man and owner of vast property, is anxious to have him return, the person is a great benefactor. In this material world, we are always suffering under the threefold miseries. The miseries arising from the body and mind, from other living entities, and from natural catastrophes. Being covered by illusion by the modes of material nature, we do not take account of these miseries. However, we should always know that in the material world, we are undergoing so much suffering. One who has sufficiently developed consciousness, who is intelligent, inquires, why he is suffering? I do not want miseries. Why am I suffering? When this question arises, there is a chance to become Krishna conscious. As soon as we surrender ourselves to Krishna, he welcomes us very cordially. It is just like a lost child who returns to his father and says, my dear father, due to some misunderstanding, I left your protection, but I have suffered. Now I return to you. The father embraces his son and says, my dear boy, come on. I was so anxious for you all the days you were gone, and now I am so happy you have come back. The father is so kind. We are in the same position. We have to surrender to Krishna, and it is not very difficult. When the son surrenders to the father, is it a very difficult job? It is very natural. And the father is always waiting to receive the son. There is no question of insult. If we bow down before our Supreme Father and touch his feet, there is no harm for us. Nor is it difficult. Indeed, it is glorious for us. Why should we not? By surrendering to Krishna, we come immediately under his protection and are relieved of all miseries. This is validated by all scriptures. At the end of the Bhagavad-gītā, Sri Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Gita 18.66. When we throw ourselves at the feet of God, we come under his protection. And from that time on, there is no fear for us. When children are under the protection of their parents, they are fearless because they know their parents will not let them be harmed. Vaye prapadyante. Krishna promises that those who surrender to him have no cause for fear. If surrender unto Krishna is such an easy thing, then why don't people do it? Instead, there are many who are challenging the very existence of God. claiming that nature and science are everything and that God is nothing. So-called advancement of civilization in knowledge means that the populace is becoming more mad. Instead of being cured, the disease is being increased. People don't care for God, but they care for nature. And it is nature's business to give kicks in the form of threefold miseries. She's always administering these kicks 24 hours a day. However, we have become so accustomed to being kicked that we think it is all right and consider it to be the ordinary course of things. We have become very proud of our education, but we tell material nature, thank you very much for kicking me. Now, please continue. Thus deluded, we think we have even conquered material nature. But how is this so? Nature is still inflicting on us the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Has anyone solved these problems? Then what advancement have we really made in knowledge and civilization? We are under the stringent rules of material nature, but still we are thinking we have conquered. This is called Maya. There may be some difficulty in surrendering to the father of this body, for he has limited knowledge and power. But Krishna is not like an ordinary father. Krishna is unlimited and has full knowledge, full power, full wealth, full beauty, full fame, and full renunciation. Shouldn't we consider ourselves lucky to go to such a father and enjoy his property? Yet, no one seems to care about this. And now everyone is making propaganda that there is no God. Why do people not seek him out? The answer is given in chapter 7, verse 15 of the Bhagavad-gītā. Namam dushkritino mudha prapajyante naradhama maya apafrita gnana asram bhavamashataha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of this egoistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. In this way, the fools are categorized. A dushkriti is always acting against the scriptural injunctions. The business of current civilization is to break scriptural rules. That's all. By definition, a pious man is one who doesn't. There must be some standard to distinguish between dushkriti, an evildoer, and sukruti, a virtuous man. Every civilized country has some scripture. It may be Christian, Hindu, Muslim, or Buddhist. That does not matter. The point is that the book of authority, the scripture, is there. One who does not follow its injunctions is considered an outlaw. Another category mentioned in this verse is mudha, fool number one. The naradhama is one who is low in the human scale, and maya apakrita gnana refers to one whose knowledge is carried away by maya or illusion. Asuram bhavamashtrita refers to those who are out and out atheists. Although there are no disadvantages to surrendering to the Father, people who are thus characterized never do it. As a result, they are constantly punished by the agents of the Father. They have to be slapped, caned, and kicked severely, and they have to suffer. Just as the father has to chastise his unruly boy, so material nature has to employ certain punishments. At the same time, nature is nourishing us by supplying food and other necessities. Both processes are going on because we are sons of the wealthiest, father of all, and Krishna is kind even though we do not surrender to him. Yet, despite being furnished so well by the father, the dushkriti still performs unsanctioned actions. One is foolish if he persists in being punished. And one is low on the human scale if he does not use his human form of life to understand Krishna. If a man does not use his life to reawaken the relationship he has with his real father, he is to be considered fallen in the human scale. Animals simply eat, sleep, defend themselves, have sexual intercourse, and die. They do not avail themselves of higher consciousness because that is not possible in the lower forms of life. If a human being follows the activities of the animals and does not avail himself of his ability to elevate his consciousness, he falls down the human scale and prepares for an animal body in his next life. By the grace of Krishna, we are given a highly developed body and intelligence. But if we do not utilize them, why should he give them to us again? We must understand that this human body has developed after millions and millions of years of evolution, and that in itself is a chance that in itself it is a chance to get out of the cycle of birth and death in which over 8 million species of life evolve. This chance is given by the grace of Krishna, and if we do not take it, are we not the lowest among men? One may be a degree holder, MA, PhD, etc., from some university, but the illusory energy takes away this mundane knowledge. He who is really intelligent will apply his intelligence to understand who he is, who God is, what material nature is, why he is suffering in material nature, and what is the remedy to this suffering. We may apply our intelligence to manufacture an automobile, radio, or television for sense gratification, but we have to understand that this is not knowledge. Rather, this is plundered intelligence. Intelligence was given to man to understand the problems of life, but it is being misused. People are thinking they have acquired knowledge because they know how to manufacture and drive cars. But before the car was here, people were still going from one place to another. It is just that the facility has been increased. But along with this facility have come additional problems: air pollution and overcrowded highways. This is Maya. We are creating facilities, but these facilities in their turn are creating so many problems. Instead of wasting our energy to supply ourselves with so many facilities and modern amenities, we should apply intelligence to understand who and what we are. We do not like to suffer, but we should understand why suffering is being forced on us. By so-called knowledge, we have simply succeeded in manufacturing the atomic bomb. Thus, the killing process has been accelerated. We are so proud to think that this is advancement of knowledge. But if we can manufacture something that can stop death, we have really advanced in knowledge. Death is already there in material nature, but we are so eager to promote it by killing everyone at one drop. This is called Maya Apahrita Jnana, knowledge carried away by illusion. This is called Maya Apahrita Jnana, knowledge carried away by illusion. The Asuras, the demons and proclaimed atheists, actually challenge God. If it were not for our Supreme Father, we would not see the light of the day. So what is the point of challenging him? In the Vedas, it is stated that there are two classes of men, the Devas and Asuras, the demigods and demons. Who are the Devas? The devotees of the Supreme Lord are called Devas because they also become like God. Whereas those who defy the authority of the Supreme are called Asuras or demons. These two classes are always found in human society. Just as there are 4 types of miscreants who never surrender to Krishna, there are 4 types of fortunate men who worship him. And they are categorized in this verse. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arto jignasadadarthi gnani cha bharatarshabha. O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Gita 7.16. The material world is full of distress, and both the pious and impious are subject to it. The cold of winter treats everyone alike. It does not care for the pious or impious, the rich or poor. The difference between the pious and the impious, however, is that the pious man thinks of God when he is in his miserable condition. Often when a man is distressed, he will go to church and pray, "Oh my Lord, I am in difficulty, please help me." Although he is praying for some material necessity, such a man is still to be considered pious because he has come to God in his distress. Similarly, a poor man may go to church and pray, "My dear Lord, please give me some money." On the other hand, the inquisitive are usually intelligent. They're always researching to understand things. They may ask, "What is God?" and then conduct scientific research to find out. They're also considered pious because their research is directed to the proper object. The man in knowledge is called a gnani, one who has understood his constitutional position. Such a gnani may have an impersonal conception of God, but because he is taking shelter of the ultimate, the supreme absolute truth, he is also to be considered pious. These four types of men are called Sukriti, pious, because they are all after God. Tesham gnani nityayukta eka bhaktir visishyate priyo hi gnanino tyartham aham sacha mama priyaha. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. Gita 7.17. Out of the four classes of men who approach God, he who is philosophically trying to understand the nature of God, who is trying to become Krishna conscious, Vishishyate, is best qualified. Indeed, Krishna says that such a person is very dear to him because he has no other business than understanding God. The others are inferior. No one has to pray to God to ask for anything, and he who does so is foolish, because he does not know that the all-knowing God is within his heart and is well aware when he is in distress or in need of money. The wise man realizes this and does not pray for relief from material miseries. Rather, he prays to glorify God and inform others how great he is. He does not pray for his personal interest, for bread, dress, or shelter. The pure devotee, when he is distressed, says, "Dear Lord, this is your kindness. You have put me into distress just to rectify me. I should be put in much greater distress, but out of your mercy, you have minimalized this." This is the vision of a pure devotee who is not disturbed. He who is in Krishna consciousness does not care for material distress, insult, or honor, because he is aloof from all these. He knows well that distress, honor, and insult pertain to the body only, and that he is not the body. Socrates, for instance, who believed in the immortality of the soul, was condemned to death, and upon being asked how he would like to be buried, replied, "First of all, you may have to catch me." So one who knows he is not the body is not disturbed, for he knows the soul cannot be caught, tortured, killed, or buried. He who is conversant with the science of Krishna knows perfectly well that he is not the body, that he is part and parcel of Krishna, that his real relationship is with Krishna, and that somehow or other, although he has been put in the material body, he must remain aloof from the three qualities of material nature. He is not concerned with the modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance, but with Krishna. One who understands this is a gnani, a wise man, and he is very much dear to Krishna. A distressed man, when he is put into opulence, may forget God, but a gnani who knows the real position of God will never forget him. There is a class of gnanis called impersonalists, who say that because worshipping the impersonal is too difficult, a form of God has to be imagined. These are not real gnanis, they are fools. No one can imagine the form of God, for God is so great. One may imagine some form, but that is a concoction. It is not the real form. There are those who imagine the form of God, and there are those who deny the form of God. Neither is a gnani. Those who imagine the form are called iconoclasts. During the Hindu-Muslim riots in India, some Hindus would go to the Muslim mosque and break statues and images of God. And the Muslims would reciprocate in like manner. In this way, they are both thinking, we have killed the Hindu god, we have killed the Muslim god, etc. Similarly, when Gandhi was leading his resistance movement, many Indians would go to the street and destroy the mailboxes. And in this way, think they were destroying the government postal service. People of such mentality are not jnanis. The religious wars between the Hindus and Muslims and Christians and non-Christians were all conducted on the basis of ignorance. One who is in knowledge knows that God is one. He cannot be Muslim, Hindu, or Christian. It is our imagination that God is such and such and such and such. That is all imagination. The real wise man knows that God is transcendental. One who knows that God is transcendental to the material modes truly knows God. God is always beside us, present in our hearts. When we leave the body, God also goes with us. And when we take on another body, He goes with us there just to see what we are doing. When shall we turn our face toward Him? He is always waiting. As soon as we turn our face toward God, He says, my dear son, come on. Satya Mama Priya. You are eternally dear to me. Now you are turning your face to me, and I am very glad. The wise man, the Gnani, actually understands the science of God. One who only understands that God is good is in a preliminary stage. But one who actually understands how great and good God is further progress. That knowledge is to be had in Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad-gītā. One who is actually interested in God should study the science of God, the Bhagavad-gītā. Idam tu te gushetamam pravakshami anasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yagnatva mokshase subhat. My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Gita 9.1. The knowledge of God imparted in the Bhagavad-gītā is very subtle and confidential. It is full of jnana, metaphysical wisdom, and vijnana, scientific knowledge. And it is full of mystery also. How can one understand this knowledge? It must be imparted by God Himself or a bona fide representative of God. Therefore, Sri Krishna says that whenever there is a discrepancy on understanding the science of God, He incarnates Himself. Nor does knowledge come from sentiment. Devotion is not sentiment. It is a science. Śrīla Rupa Goswami says, a show of spirituality without reference to the Vedic knowledge is simply a disturbance to society. One must taste the nectar of devotion by reason, argument, and knowledge, and then he must pass it on to others. One should not think that Krishna consciousness is mere sentimentality. The dancing and singing are all scientific. There is science, and there is also loving reciprocation. Krishna is very dear to the wise man, and the wise man is very dear to Krishna. Krishna will return our love 1,000-fold. What capacity do we finite creatures have to love Krishna? But Krishna has immense capacity, unlimited capacity for love. Chapter 5. Steering toward the Supreme. Udara sarva evaite gnani twatmaiva me matam astita sahe yuktatma mam evanuttamam gatim mam evanuttamam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Gita 7.18. Here, Krishna is saying that all the men who come to him, whether they be distressed, in need of money, curious, etc., are welcome. But out of them, the person who is in knowledge is very dear to him. The others are welcome because it is understood that in the course of time, if they continue on the path to God, they will become as good as the man of knowledge. Generally, however, it so happens that when one goes to church for profit and the money does not come, he concludes that approaching God is nonsense, and he gives up all connection with church. That is the danger of approaching God with ulterior motives. For instance, during Second World War, it was reported that many wives of the German soldiers went to church to pray for their husband's safe return. But when they found their husbands had been killed in battle, they became atheistic. Thus, we want God to become our order supplier. And when he does not supply our order, we say there is no God. That is the effect of praying for material things. In this connection, there is a story of a little boy, about 5 years old, named Dhruva, who belonged to a royal family. In the course of time, his father, the king, tired of his mother and deposed her as his queen. He then took another woman as queen, and she became stepmother to the boy. She was very envious of Dhruva, and one day, as Dhruva was sitting on the father's knee, she insulted him. "Oh, you cannot sit on the lap of your father," she said, "because you are not born of me." She dragged Dhruva from his father's lap, and the boy became very angry. He was the son of a Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas are notorious for their quick tempers. Dhruva took this to be a great insult, and he went to his mother, who had been deposed. "Dear mother," he said, "my stepmother has insulted me by dragging me from my father's lap." "Dear son," the mother replied, "what can I do? I am helpless, and your father no longer cares for me." "Well, how can I take revenge?" the boy asked. "My dear boy, you are helpless. Only if God helps you can you take revenge." "Oh, where is God?" Dhruva asked enthusiastically. "I understand so many sages go to the jungle and forest to see God," the mother replied. "They undergo great penances and austerities in order to find God there." At once, Dhruva went to the forest and began asking the tiger and the elephant, "Oh, are you God? Are you God?" In this way, he was questioning all the animals. Seeing that Dhruva was very much inquisitive, Sri Krishna sent Narada Muni to see about the situation. Narada quickly went to the forest and found Dhruva. "My dear boy," Narada said, "you belong to the royal family. You cannot suffer all this penance and austerity. Please return to your home. Your mother and father are very much anxious for you." "Please don't try to divert me in that way," the boy said. "If you know something about God, or if you know how I can see God, please tell me. Otherwise, go away and don't disturb me." When Narada saw that Dhruva was so determined, he initiated him as a disciple and gave him the mantra, "Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya." Dhruva chanted this mantra and became perfect, and God came before him. "My dear Dhruva, what do you want? You can take from me whatever you want." "My dear Lord," the boy replied, "I was undergoing such severe penances simply for my father's kingdom and land. But now I have seen you. Even the great sages and saints cannot see you. What is my profit? I left my home to find merely some scraps of glass and rubbish, and instead I found a very valuable diamond. Now I am satisfied. I have no need to ask of anything of you." Thus, even though one may be poverty-stricken or in distress, he goes to God with the same determination as Dhruva, intent on seeing God and taking his benediction. And if he happens to see God, he will no longer want anything material. He comes to understand the foolishness of material possessions, and he puts the illusion aside for the real thing. When one becomes situated in Krishna consciousness like Dhruva Maharaj, he becomes fully satisfied and does not want anything. The Gnani, the wise man, knows that material things are flickering. He also knows that there are three aspects that complicate all material gain. One wants profit from his work. One wants adoration from others because of his riches. And one wants fame because of his wealth. In any case, he knows that all of these apply but to the body, and then when the body is finished, they also go. When the body dies, one is no longer a rich man but a spirit soul. And according to his work, he has to enter another body. The Gita says that a wise man is not bewildered by this, for he knows what is what. Why then should he bother himself in attaining material wealth? His attitude is, I have an eternal connection with Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Now let me establish that relationship firmly so that Krishna will take me back to his kingdom. The cosmic situation is giving us all facility to re-establish this relationship with Krishna and return to Godhead. This should be our mission in life. Everything we need is being supplied by God: land, grain, fruits, milk, shelter, and clothing. We only have to live peacefully and cultivate Krishna consciousness. That should be our mission in life. We should therefore be satisfied with what God has supplied in the form of food, shelter, defense, and sex, and should not want more and more and more. The best type of civilization is one that ascribes to the maxim of plain living and high thinking. It is not possible to manufacture food or sex in a factory. These and whatever else we require are supplied by God. Our business is to take advantage of these things and become God conscious. Although God has given us all facilities to live peacefully on this earth, cultivate Krishna consciousness, and finally to come to Him, in this age we are unfortunate. We are short-lived, and there are so many people without food, shelter, married life, or defense from the onslaughts of nature. This is due to the influence of this age of Kali. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing the dreadful situation in this age, emphasized the absolute necessity for cultivating spiritual life. And how should we do it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the formula. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Iva Kevalam, Kalau Nastaiva, Nastaiva, Nastaiva Gatiranyatha. Just always chant Hare Krishna. Never mind whether you are in a factory or in hell, in a shack or in a skyscraper, it does not matter. Just go on chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no expense, there is no impediment, there is no caste, there is no creed, there is no color. Anyone can do it. Just chant and hear. Somehow or other, if one comes into contact with Krishna consciousness and executes the process under the guidance of a bona fide guide, he should go back to God. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapajyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders to me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Gita 7.19. Philosophical research into the science of God has to be prosecuted for many births. God realization is very easy, but at the same time, it is very difficult. It is easy for those who accept Krishna's word as truth, but those who try to understand through research work, by dint of advancement of knowledge, have to create their faith after finishing so much research work. And this process takes many births. There are different types of transcendentalists called Tattvavit, who know the absolute truth. The transcendentalists call the absolute truth that in which there is no duality. In the absolute truth, there is no duality. Everything is on the same level. One who knows this in truth is called Tattvavit. Krishna proclaims that the absolute truth is known in three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. the impersonal Brahman effulgence, the localized supersoul, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, there are three angles from which one may envision the absolute truth. One may view a mountain from a great distance and thus perceive it from one angle of vision. As he comes closer, he may see the trees and foliage of the mountain, and if he begins to climb the mountain, he will find so much variegatedness in the trees, plants, and animals. The objective is the same, but due to different angles of vision, sages have different conceptions of the absolute truth. Another example. There is the sunshine, the sun disk, and the sun god. One who is in the sunshine cannot claim that he is on the sun itself. And one who is situated in the sun is, from the point of view of vision, better situated. The sunshine may be compared to the all-pervasive Brahma-Jyoti effulgence. The localized sun disk may be compared to the localized aspect of the Supersoul. And the sun god who resides in the sun may be compared to the personality of Godhead. As on this earth planet, we have a multi-variety of living entities. We can understand from Vedic literatures that in the sun also there is a variety of living entities, but their bodies are made of fire, just as ours are made of earth. In material nature, there are 5 gross elements: earth, water, air, fire, and space. In different planets, there are different atmospheres due to one of these 5 elements prevailing. And there are different bodies for the living entities composed of whatever element may be predominant in a particular planet. We should not think that all planets have the same quality of life. Yet, there is uniformity in the sense that these 5 elements are present in some form or other. That on some planets, earth is prominent, fire is prominent, water is prominent, and air and space are prominent. We should not think, therefore, that just because a planet is not composed primarily of earth, or because the atmosphere does not duplicate ours, that there is no life on these planets. Vedic literatures give us information that there are countless planets filled with living entities with different types of bodies. As by making some material adjustment, we may qualify to enter into different material planets. By qualification, we can enter into the spiritual planet, where the Supreme Lord resides. Yanti deva vrata devan, pitrun yanti pitruvrataha, bhutani yanti bhuteja, yanti madhyajinopimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. And those who worship me will live with me. Gita 9.25. Those who are trying to enter higher planets can go there. And those who are trying to qualify to enter into Golok Vrindavan, the planet of Krishna, can also enter there by the process of Krishna consciousness. Before going to India, we may acquire a description of what the country is like. Hearing about a place is the first experience. Similarly, if we want to get information about the planet where God lives, we have to hear. We cannot immediately make an experiment and go there. That is not possible. But we have so many descriptions of the supreme planet in Vedic literature. For instance, Brahma Samhita 5.29 states, Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vriksha, lakshavruteshu surabhir abhipalayantam, Lakshmi sahasra seta sambrahma sevyamanam, Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, fulfilling all desires, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. There are also other detailed descriptions given specifically in Brahma Samhita. Those who are trying to realize the absolute truth are categorized according to the aspect of the absolute truth on which they concentrate. Those who concentrate on Brahman, the impersonalists, are called Brahmavadis. Generally, those who are trying to realize the absolute truth, first of all, realize the Brahma Jyoti. Those who concentrate on the Supersoul, the localized form of the Lord, in the heart, called Paramatma, are known as Paramatmavadis. The Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion, is sitting in everyone's heart. And by meditation and concentration, one can perceive this form. Not only is he within everyone's heart, but he is situated within every atom of the creation. This Paramatma realization is the second stage. The third and last stage is the realization of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because there are three main stages of realization, the Supreme Absolute Truth is not attained in one birth. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. If one is fortunate, he can achieve the ultimate in 1 second. But generally, it takes many, many years and many, many births to realize what God is. Aham sarvasya prabho mattas sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Gita 10.8. The Vedanta Sutra also confirms that the absolute truth is He from whom everything is born. If we truly believe that Krishna is the origin of everything, and if we worship Him, our whole account is closed in 1 second. But if one does not believe and says, oh, I want to see what God is, he has to go by stages, by realizing the impersonal Brahman effulgence and then Paramatma, the localized feature, before finally coming to the last stage of realizing, oh, here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It should be understood, however, that this process takes more time. When one, through many years of research, comes to realize the absolute truth, he concludes, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Vasudeva is all that is. Vasudeva is the name for Krishna, and it means he who lives everywhere. Realizing that Vasudeva is the root of everything, Mam Prapajyate, he surrenders. The surrendering process is the ultimate goal. Either one does it immediately or after many bursts of research work. In either case, surrender must be there by realizing that God is great and I am His subordinate. Understanding this, the wise man will surrender immediately and not wait to take many, many births. He understands this. He understands that this information is given by the Supreme Lord out of His infinite mercy on the conditioned souls. We are all conditioned souls suffering the threefold miseries of the material world. Now the Supreme Lord is giving us the opportunity to escape these miseries by the surrendering process. At this point, one may ask that if the Supreme Personality is the ultimate goal and one has to surrender to Him, why are there so many different processes of worship in the world? This question is answered in the next verse. Kama istaistere hrutagnana prapajyante anya devata tam niyamam asthaya prakrutya neta svaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrendered unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Gita 7.20. There are many different types of men in the world, and they are functioning under the different modes of material nature. Generally speaking, most men are not after liberation. If they take to spirituality, they wish to gain something by spiritual power. It is not uncommon in India for a person to go to a Swami and say, Swamiji, could you give me some medicine? I am suffering from this disease. He thinks that because a doctor is too expensive, he can go to a Swami who can work miracles. In India also, there are Swamis who go to people's houses and preach. If you give me 1 ounce of gold, I can make it into 100 ounces of gold. The people think, I have 5 ounces of gold. Let me give it to him. I will get 500 ounces. In this way, the Swami collects all the gold in the village, and after collecting it, he vanishes. This is our disease. When we go to a Swami or a temple or church, our hearts are filled with material desires. Wanting some material profit out of spiritual life, we practice yoga just to keep our health fit. But in order to keep healthy, why take shelter of yoga? We can become healthy through regular exercise and regulated diet. Why resort to yoga? Because Kama istaistere hutagnana. We have the material desire to keep ourselves fit and to enjoy life by going to church and making God our order supplier. Having material desires, men worship various demigods. They have no idea how to get out of matter. They want to utilize the material world to its best capacity. For instance, in Vedic literature, there are so many recommendations. If one wants to cure his disease, he worships the sun. Or if a girl wants a good husband, she worships Lord Shiva. Or if one wants to become beautiful, he worships such and such God. Or if one wants to become educated, he worships Goddess Saraswati. In this way, Westerners often think that the Hindus are polytheistic. But actually, this worship is not to God, but to demigods. We should not think that the demigods are God. God is one, but there are demigods who are also living entities just like us. The difference is that they have a considerable amount of power. On this earth, there may be a king or a president or a dictator. These are men like us, but they have some extraordinary power. And in order to get favors from them to take advantage of their power, we worship them in one way or another. But the Bhagavad-gītā condemns worship of the demigods. This verse clearly states that people worship the demigods due to kama, material lust. The material life is simply based on lust. We want to enjoy this world and we love this material world because we want to gratify our senses. This lust is a perverted reflection of our love of God. In our original constitution, we are made to love God, but because we have forgotten God, we love matter. Love is there. Either we love matter or we love God. But in no case can we get out of this loving propensity. Indeed, we often see that when one does not have children, he loves a cat or a dog. Why? Because we want and need to love something. In the absence of reality, we put our faith and love in cats and dogs. Love is always there, but it is distorted into the form of lust. When this lust is baffled, we become angry. And when we become angry, we become delusion. And when we are illusion, we are doomed. This is the process that is going on. But we have to reverse this process and turn lust into love. If we love God, we love everything. But if we do not love God, it is not possible to love anything. We may think that it is love, but it is simply a glamorized form of lust. Those who have become the dogs of lust are said to have lost all good sense. Kama istaistere hutagnana. There are many rules and regulations for the worship of demigods in the scriptures, and one may question why the Vedic literatures recommend their worship. There is necessity. Those who are motivated by lust want the opportunity to love something, and the demigods are acknowledged as the officers of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that as one worships these demigods, he will gradually develop Krishna consciousness. But if one is completely atheistic and disobedient and rebellious against any authority, what hope is there? So one's obedience to a higher personality can start with the demigods. If, however, we take directly to the worship of the Supreme Lord, worship of the demigods is not necessary. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly show all respect to the demigods, but they do not need to worship them because they know that the supreme authority behind the demigods is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are engaged in worshipping Him. In any case, respect is still there. A devotee of the Lord shows respect even to an ant, what to speak of the demigods. The devotee is aware that all living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord and that they are playing different roles only. In relation to the Supreme Lord, all beings are to be respected. Therefore, a devotee refers to others as Prabhu, meaning, my dear sir, my dear Lord. Submissiveness is a qualification for a devotee of the Lord. Devotees are kind and obedient, and they have all good qualifications. In conclusion, If one becomes a devotee of the Lord, all good qualities will automatically develop. By nature, the living entity is perfect, but due to contamination of lust, he becomes vicious. That which is part and parcel of God is also God, and whatever is part and parcel of the complete perfect is also perfect. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avasishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as the phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as a complete whole. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Sri Ishopanishad invocation. Due to the contamination of matter, the perfect living entity falls down, but this process of Krishna consciousness will again make him perfect. Through it, he can become truly happy, and after leaving the material body, enter into the kingdom where there is eternal life, bliss, and full knowledge. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us in this reading of the program. Hope we will see you again in our next reading. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.